Hello everyone. So in this session we are going to see the demonstration on how to do the route filtering using route maps. So let's take an example here. I have the devices which is router 1, router 2 and router 3, which is configured with the IP address of 10.1.1.1 on router 1 LAN interface, and the interface facing from router 1 to router 2, it was using 1. Network, and router 2 LAN interface, it was using 20. Network, and the interfaces facing from router 2 to router 3, it was configured with 2. Network, and on router 3 the LAN interface which was using 30. Network. So here in this router 3 I have some loopbacks which is 13. Networks. So this 13. Networks, I'm going to configure them in EIGRP. I'm going to configure them. And so here now my requirement is, so whenever I'm translating this EIGRP routes into OSPF, so I forgot to mention here this 10. Network, 30. Network and 20. Network, 1. And 2. is going to run on the OSPF. So now I'm going to advertise this 13. Networks under EIGRP. So let's assume these are the networks where I want to translate this into OSPF domain. Here I'm going to do the redistribution. So as we know that whenever we are going to configure the redistribution from EIGRP to OSPF, automatically all these 13. Networks are going to get advertised into this OSPF domain, right? So now in my scenario here, so let's assume that I want to advertise only here 13. Network, 13.0.0.0 and 13.0.1.0. Only these are the two networks which is my requirement to get advertised or redistributed into my OSPF domain, and this 13.0.2. network and 13.0.3. network should not get advertised. So let's assume that. So here right now I'm going to configure something called route maps in order to filter the routes. So to do that, first we need to write something called access list. So we'll directly jump into the lab and we'll see how we are going to perform this task. So here already I have configured my routers. These are the 3 routers as I said. So these 3 routers, now it was powered on, and already I have some initial configurations which already I have done with that. So let's go and see here, show IP interface brief. Already here I have 4 loopbacks which is 13.0.0.1, 13.0.1. network, 13.0.2. network and 13.0.3. network. So now I want to advertise only these 2 loopback interfaces, which is nothing but 13.0.0.1 and 13.0.1.1 network has to get advertised into my OSPF domain. So by default, whenever I do the redistribution from EIGRP to OSPF, all these 4 loopbacks, by default it is going to get redistributed into OSPF domain. That is what we have discussed. So here already I have configured my initial IP addressing and routing protocols. So do show run section router. See here already I have configured as per the task. So EIGRP 100, which was advertised with the network of 13. Network, and here already I have advertised my OSPF networks. So let me, and here let's go and verify, do show IP access list. So there, as of now, there is no configuration present, just I have advertised my networks under OSPF and EIGRP. So now let's go back to router 2, and if you verify with the command show IP route OSPF, it was learning only 30. Network, and also on router 1 do show IP route OSPF, it was getting advertised only this three networks, right? So now here my task was, let's go and try to do the redistribution and see how it is going to action in this. So that let's go and say router OSPF 1 redistribute EIGRP 100, and you have to say the keyword called subnets. So let's give this command, and again if you go back to router 1 and if you repeat the command, see here by default it was getting advertised this for loopback interfaces. So now here my task was, I want to advertise only these two networks, and these two networks should get denied. So this is what my requirement. So in order to do that, we have to use a route maps concept. So now let's try to remove this and do the configuration of route maps. So before starting the route map configuration, first we have to create the access list. So here I'm going with the named ACL IP access list standard with the name, let's say any name, CCIE. Then we have to permit the networks because we need to advertise three networks into the OSPF, right? So that's the reason we have to write the permit statement. So 13.0.0.1 with the wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255, and again permit 13.0.1.network with the wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255. So here I'm giving the deny statement just for the verification, but in general you're not required any kind of deny statements whenever you're permitting any networks, right? So let's say here deny any, done. So this is what my ACL, and now we have to create the route maps. So route map, and you have to define the name, let's say CCIE, and you have to say here permit, and you have to define the sequence number. So route maps is going to work based on the sequence number with the sequence of 10, tens of sequence. So let's say 10, and here we need to say match IP address, and here we have to call the ACL name, whatever the name we have given. So here name I have given here CCIE exit, and now we have to call these route maps when you are doing the redistribution, your EIG routes into OSPF. So now let's log on to router OSPF 1 redistribute. We are redistributing the EIGRP with the AS number 100 and with the keyword called subnets. And if you press question mark now, it is going to ask you the route map. And what is the route map name? CCIE. Done. Now let's go back and verify. So previously when I did the redistribution from EIGRP to OSPF, all these four networks got advertised into OSPF domain. So now I have redistributed using the route maps by filtering the two networks with the permit command. So now let's go and verify. See here, only 13.0.0.0 and 13.0.1.network was getting advertised into the OSPF domain. So now if you go to router 2 and if you want to verify them, you can use a command called show IP access list. See here, 13.network, it was getting one match, 13.1.network, one match, and remaining two networks was in the deny. So this is how you can able to configure the route maps to filter the routes.